Picture a sun-blasted plain stretching to the horizon. At one edge stands a young king who believes conquest is his calling, leading veterans who have never known defeat. Facing him is the great king of Persia, ruler of the largest empire the world has yet seen, who has summoned a host to defend his throne. This is more than a battle. It is a day on which history itself holds its breath. The year is 331 BCE. 2 years after Issus, Alexander has already shattered the Persian army and forced Darius III to flee, even leaving his family behind. Since that victory, he has driven along the eastern Mediterranean coast, from Syria to Egypt.
Holds its breath.
There he was hailed as a liberator and crowned pharaoh. By land and by policy, he has dismantled Persian sea power, securing his supply lines and rear. During this period, Darius tried to end the war with generous terms. He offered Alexander all lands west of the Euphrates, a vast sum in gold, and the hand of his daughter. The seasoned General Parmenion is said to have remarked, "If I were Alexander, I would accept." Alexander's reply cut the other way, "So would I, if I were Parmenion." For him, this was not a dispute over provinces, it was destiny, and destiny allowed no half measures. With negotiation exhausted, Darius spent 2 full years calling up the strength of his empire. He chose the battlefield himself with meticulous care, no narrow, constricting ground like Issus this time. Instead, he selected a broad, perfectly flat plain near the village of Gaugamela in what is now Iraq. Engineers were sent ahead to level the surface, removing hummocks and shrubs so nothing would slow his most fearsome instrument, the scythed chariot. The army he assembled was meant to awe as much as to kill. Ancient writers, though prone to exaggeration, describe hundreds of thousands drawn from many nations of Asia. At the core stood the imperial elite, the 10,000 Immortals, the empire's finest heavy infantry, and masses of heavy cavalry. Among the specialized arms were 200 scythed chariots, 4-horse machines with long razor-edge blades fixed to the hubs, built to slice through infantry ranks, like a reaper through grain. To deepen the terror, Darius also brought 15 Indian war elephants. Most Greeks had never seen such beasts. Few would forget the sight or the sound. Opposite this behemoth waited 47,000 Macedonians. They were vastly outnumbered, but they were a professional army of veterans welded together by years of campaign. Their spine was the phalanx, a moving wall of sarissas about 18 feet long that bristled like a field of steel. Their cutting edge was the Companion Cavalry, the finest horsemen of the age, led in person by Alexander. These men were not merely serving an empire. They were following a leader they believed could not be beaten. The night before the battle showed the gulf between the two camps. On the Persian side, the plain became a city of light and noise. Fearing a surprise attack from the audacious Macedonian king, Darius ordered the entire army to remain awake and in formation until dawn. Torches burned, armor clinked, tension spread with every hour of lost sleep.
Has spoken.
The Macedonian camp was the opposite, quiet and dark. Alexander would not hear of a night assault. "I will not steal my victory," he declared. Instead, he told his soldiers to eat well and sleep well. His calm radiated outward, steadying nerves and sharpening focus. While the great king kept watch over an exhausted host, the Macedonian king, on the eve of his greatest trial, slept soundly. At first light, Alexander gathered his commanders and explained a plan designed to blunt every Persian advantage. A head-on blow would be folly. He would advance obliquely, driving his right wing forward on a diagonal towards the edge of the prepared ground. That movement would force the Persian left to stretch out to meet him. If they overextended, a gap might open where their left wing pulled away from the center. To guard against encirclement by sheer numbers, he built a defense in depth. Behind the main phalanx, a second line, angled and ready to wheel, would meet any flank attack. And the scythed chariots? He issued precise instructions. Front ranks were to part at the last moment, opening channels for the chariots to pass through. Then the rear ranks would strike down horses and drivers with javelins and swords. It was a scheme that demanded iron discipline, and Alexander trusted his men to deliver. The advance began. Alexander pushed his right forward on the diagonal, step by measured step, further and further towards the edge of the prepared ground. The Persian left had to move to cover him. Their lines stretched, gaps threatened to appear. Darius saw the drift. He would not let the Macedonians outflank him. He sent in the Scythian Bactrian cavalry from his left. They charged hard to pin Alexander in place. A brutal cavalry fight erupted on that flank. Dust rose. Horses screamed. Steel rang. Believing the Macedonian front was fixed, Darius unleashed his terror weapon. The scythed chariots rolled. 204 horse carts, blades flashing from the hubs. They thundered straight at the phalanx. The sound was like a storm. The sight was meant to break men before the blades reached them. But the Macedonian infantry did not flinch. They acted exactly as briefed. The front ranks opened channels at the last heartbeat. The chariots hurtled through the gaps, not into the men. Momentum died on the far side. Then the rear ranks struck. Javelins found horses and drivers. Swords finished the rest. The engine of terror became a collection of wrecks. While this played out, the Macedonian left was in peril. Parmenion faced the full weight of the Persian right under Mazaeus. He was outnumbered. He was being pushed back. The line bent close to breaking. Messengers spurred away with desperate pleas for help. In the center right, the gamble paid off. The Persian left had pulled so far to counter Alexander that he drifted from the center. Between the two, a gap opened. It was the single weak seam in the Persian mass. Alexander saw it at once. He did not hesitate. He called the Companion Cavalry to form a wedge. He himself took the point. They abandoned the ongoing cavalry melee on the flank. They turned and drove like a spear through the gap. Their xyston lances, about 12 feet long, leveled as one. They smashed the famed infantry screen. They ripped the royal guard apart. They arrowed straight for Darius III. For a heartbeat, the two kings were inside of each other. Alexander, dusty and blood-spattered, led from the front. Darius, high on a magnificent war chariot, saw the whirlwind coming. Javelins fell around him. His guards died where they stood. The vision of the Macedonian king, furious and unrelenting, broke his nerve. It had happened at Issus. It happened again. Darius turned his chariot. He fled. Word flew down the Persian line. The king has fled. Morale shattered. The center and left dissolved. Weapons fell. Men ran. A rout took shape across the plain. Alexander pressed the pursuit. If he captured Darius, the war could end that day. Glory and final victory were within reach. Then the message from Parmenion arrived. The left was collapsing. Mazaeus had broken through and was striking at the Macedonian camp. The army itself was at stake. Alexander chose his men. He reined in the chase. He wheeled the companions. They galloped back across the field. They crashed into the rear of the Persian cavalry, who were looting the Macedonian camp. Surprised and disordered, those horsemen broke. Parmenion's wing was saved. With both Persian flanks now shattered, the rout became total. The pursuit lasted the rest of the day. The Persian camp yielded heaps of gold and silver, luxury tents, and Darius's own war chariot and bow. The butcher's bill was lopsided. Alexander lost only a few hundred. The Persians left tens of thousands on the field at Gaugamela. Darius III escaped into the mountains. But he was a king without an army, without a realm. His authority evaporated. Soon after, the satrap betrayed him and killed him. Alexander later ordered a royal funeral for his fallen rival. It was a last courtesy from victor to vanquished. Strategically, the result was final. The Achaemenid Empire was broken beyond repair. Alexander marched unopposed into Babylon. He was received not as a despoiler, but as a liberator. From that moment, he was in effect king of Asia. Gaugamela became a textbook of command. The oblique advanced to stretch an enemy. The refused flank to control the fight. the defense in depth to blunt envelopment, the cavalry wedge to pierce a critical seam. Generals would study those ideas for millennia. But the meaning reached beyond tactics. The battle ended one age and began another. It opened the way for Hellenistic culture to surge east, mingling with local traditions. Worlds fused, art, science, language and trade took new paths. The dust that settled on the plain covered an old order. It fertilized the ground for a new one. On that day, a young king fulfilled his destiny and earned forever the name Alexander the Great.